Hey guys, welcome back to the X-Ring, and today we're going to talk about the differences between a first focal plane scope and a second focal plane scope. This will be the quick down and dirty version, so stay tuned, we'll cover more. Focal plane scope. On the first focal plane, you're going to notice when you go to purchase one that typically the price is going to be slightly higher or significantly higher depending on the manufacturer between a front focal and a second focal. The first focal plane has the reticle in front of the erector knobs. Second focal plane is going to be behind it. So what that means as a purchaser or a user of that object is that on a front focal plane or first focal plane scope, when you increase your magnification, your reticle appears to increase size or grow as you increase the zoom level. So in this representation here, here's what your reticle will look like. This is the Trimmer 3 reticle on 7 power, okay? It's going to be hard for you to make out the subtensions or the hash marks. And then this is going to be the 15 power in the same scope, same reticle. And then as you zoom up to 32 power or 35 power, I think it is, you will see how much larger it appears, okay? It's all the same, you're just making that reticle larger or smaller based on your power. Now, why would you want this? Well, the reason that you would want this is if you're having to do a lot of range estimation using your reticle. Let's say you just had an EMP go off and all electronics are dead. You can still range your target if you can approximate the size or a known size of something. So, whether that be a person, from his waistline to the top of his head or the width of his shoulders, or even a deer from the top of its back to the breast, if you can approximate that distance in inches or that height, you can usually determine the distance of that target using a simple formula. So what that means with the front focal is it doesn't matter if you're on 15 power or 25 power, whatever power you're on, the ratio is correct. So my math will work for that reticle. Second focal plane has the reticle behind the erectors instead of in front of. So now, every single time you look through that scope, you will see the exact same picture in the reticle. It never changes. The only difference is what you're viewing. You can increase or decrease the size of it with your zoom, but the reticle will never change. So what that means for you as a shooter is that if you did have an occasion where you needed to range estimate using your reticle, you're usually going to have to be in the maximum power setting, okay? So if your scope is a 20 power, and maybe you have a 5 to 20, you're going to have to be on 20 power in order to be able to get an accurate range estimation because it's based off max power. That's most scopes. Now, there are workarounds. If it's a 20 power, you could zoom it down to 10, and you could do the math, and then, you're basically doubling it. So you can backwards work the formulas to different powers. I mean, even that being said, you could go down to 5 or you could go to 15. But like I said, it's a lot more work, a lot less effort with the front focal plane. The second focal plane is going to be a little less expensive. So those are the main differences. Don't read too much into it. Don't always have to have a front focal plane if you don't have to range estimate targets. The last thing I do want to mention is there were some years ago, it was harder for them to do finer reticles in the front focal. I haven't seen that as of lately. I mean, you can get some really, really nice scopes that have fine reticles in the first focal plane. The other thing is that you couldn't get high power using a front focal plane scope. Not really true. I mean, I'm seeing them in 35 power now. Yeah, maybe they're not doing one in a 50 power, but you don't see most guys running around with 50 power scopes, anytime unless they're doing some type of specialized competition or something, maybe bench rest or something. So those are your big differences. Hope you learned something. We will talk to you soon. Have a great evening.